Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new music series for 2024. This is going to be similar to the 52 Essential Album series from last year, but this year it'll be 52 new albums, or at least new albums to me. What this series will focus on is albums I have never heard from start to finish and have never heard to completion. I've maybe some of these albums that show up, I have maybe heard a song or two off of. A lot of times the albums will be completely new. This week here, we're doing Aqua's Megalomania. This is their third album, and I didn't hear any of the songs on this album until I went to a recent Aqua concert. So I think like two songs off this album were featured at that concert. Again, I had not heard this full album until earlier today, and I ended up really liking it. I think it's pretty good. It's definitely a little more mature and more edgy than their first two albums. So they kind of lead more into like adult Europop or dance music. So it's still the same genre, but the lyrical content is a little more mature than their first two albums. They actually drop, a few F-bombs throughout the album. Don't think they did anything like that on their first albums. In their first albums, some of their first songs had some kind of adult content to them, but they were kind of like lyrically disguised a little bit differently. There's a few songs on this album where they actually just are a little bit more explicit. So again, this week we're covering again Megalomania by Aqua, first released October 3rd, 2011. Some notable tracks off this album were songs that I ended up really liking are Play Mate to Jesus, Like a Robot, How Are You Doing, and Dirty Little Pop Song. The two songs that I kind of had known a little bit about, which were songs from that concert, were Playmate to Jesus and Dirty Little Pop Song. I had not heard those before, but they played those at that concert, and I think they kind of changed them up a little bit. At the concert, Playmate to Jesus felt a little more like ballady, I guess I should say, if that's the correct terminology. They're Playmate to Jesus is a little more upbeat on the actual album. And Dirty Little Pop Song, another pretty good song that I had not heard before up to that point. So we have some notes here. We're actually going to do notes this year for this series. A lot of the more essential album series, I was a lot more familiar with those albums, so I didn't really feel the need to take notes for them. But this year, with this being kind of a lot of like my kind of like initial reactions to these albums, we're going to be doing notes. So I have some notes here for Megalomania. Let me actually pull that up here. So again, like we mentioned earlier, first released October 3rd, 2011, and that was 11 years after the release of their second album, Aquarius. So I think Aquarium is probably their best album. Definitely their most well-known. In my opinion, it's their best. I just picked it up on vinyl recently, and it sounds awesome. Aquarius, I don't know if that's available on vinyl. Eventually, if these do get re-released on vinyl, I'll definitely pick them up. But there was an 11-year gap there, so they broke up right after Aquarius came out. Maybe not right after, like a year later or something like that. So 2001, they broke up. They got back together in 2007, and then I think they then released a Greatest Hits album. I haven't completely listened to that, but there's a few new songs on that album that I guess there's a song called Back to the 80s, which they played at that show as well. And that was specifically recorded for that Greatest Hits album. So they did the Greatest Hits, and then in 2010 they announced they were doing a new album, of course, which would become Megalomania. Apparently they recorded stuff over an 18-month period. And according to the research, there was like 100 songs at the very least, like partly written, partly recorded, like 100 at least like frameworks for for songs. They ended up then going into the studio for about 12 months working on that. And at the end of 2011, or the end, close to the end of 2011, it got released. It was supposed to release in July, I think, of that year, but for some reason it got pushed back to October. The content in the songs is definitely much more mature, a lot edgier, but I actually think it kind of works. Some critics didn't really agree with it, but I think a lot of the songs I ended up really, really liking. Play Like a Jesus being one of them, but also Like a Robot, even though it's probably like the silliest song on the album, or like silliest as far as like lyrics go. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely kind of a bit weird because like that's one of the songs where they just drop a ton of f bombs. Like it's part of like like the chorus, but it's kind of funny having an Aqua album where they cuss because like up to that point they were considered to be like their lyrics were pretty clean. But if you like looked into them, like look at Bumblebee, and Bumblebee is actually pretty explicit. But it was definitely like a lot of like more double entendres. The double entendres aren't really present here. They're definitely very much like the lyrics are very much to the point of what they're trying to say. So Renee Diff, the second singer, I guess, like right behind lead, he does like does all the cool like the Ken stuff in the Barbie World song and all, Barbie Girl and all that. But he has a quote here, and it's quote. This is a quote about like the kind of different direction they were taking with the like just the lyrics. It says, quote, "It's a lot more aggressive and a lot more like full-on party dance music," and I definitely agree with that. Like, you could definitely say that their first two albums are party dance music as well, but it's definitely much more aggressive this time out. It has some pretty mixed critical reviews. I think their first two albums were pretty well critically received. This one was definitely mixed. Let me bring up a quote here from somebody from, I think it was from AllMusic. And it says, quote, "Unsurprisingly, their previous squeaky, cartoonish pop sound is nowhere to be found on this record, with its several explicit-laden lyrics and trashy electro production reveals a much more grown-up, if not necessarily mature, new direction. They now sound like every other generic dance pop outfit out there." Like I said, I don't really listen to a lot of this genre of music, maybe like outside of Aqua and a few other things. This series will probably remedy that because I know there's a lot of really good Euro dance music that I've maybe only heard like one or two songs of. Like this an artist at the top of my head that I can think of would be like Cascadia, I think. I think it's Cascada, but there was like a couple songs I know from her that I would probably be like looking to like look into like one of her full albums. So this one reviewer didn't really like the direction that it went. I overall think it's definitely probably their weakest album. Followed, like I would definitely say their albums are probably, my opinion on them is they're probably as good as their release order. So Aquarium is definitely their favorite album for me, then Aquarius, and then this. I don't know where I would put Greatest Hits because I haven't listened to Greatest Hits, even though it's probably it's definitely a combination of their first two albums and I think a couple extra tracks like Back to the 80s and things like that. But so definitely mixed critically. We're going to go ahead and look at the track list now, and I'm going to pull that up right here. So we have 11 tracks. It's about 39 minutes in length. It's a short album. One thing I actually really like about Aqua's albums is like on my like commute to work, I can actually listen to a complete album from them usually. So it takes about between getting it to work and like getting on and getting there, it takes about 45 minutes for me to get to work. So this is actually like even their first album, Aquarium, you can listen to on that commute. But anyway, back to the track listing here. So we have 11 tracks, 39 minutes in length, basically. Track 1 is Playmate to Jesus. It starts off, it's got like a lot of talking about like going to space, being a playmate to Jesus. I actually really like that track. I think it's a very good starting track here. Track 2 is Dirty Little Pop Song. There's a couple, little bit of kind of, maybe not questionable lyrics in the song, but a little more edgier lyrics. Playmate to Jesus is actually a pretty, like, it's lyrically pretty, they played it kind of safe on that one. Dirty Little Pop Song leads a little more into, like, the adult side of things. Track 3 is called Kill Myself. Even just the track titles are kind of getting a little bit edgier. Track 4 is Like a Robot. Like a Robot, one of my favorite tracks on the album. It's just got like a great sound to it. It's a lot more. I almost said a little more. A lot more vocally just intense. Like there's the main chorus is why you gotta F me like a robot, bot, like over and over. Renee's got some great lines on that track as well. So that's track 4. Track 5 is Viva Las Vegas. It's not a cover of the, don't know who, I think it was like Elvis Presley and ZZ Top covered it, but completely different track than that. So track 5 is Viva Las Vegas. Track 6 is No Party Patrol. And the weird thing about No Party Patrol is there are lines in No Party Patrol that Renee was inserting into other random songs at the show I went to. So when I actually heard this album, heard this album and heard this song, there were parts of it that I recognized because he was actually like inserting those into other songs at the show. So that was pretty cool. Track 7 is Come and Get It. Track 8 is Sucker for a Superstar. Track 9 is Be My Savior Tonight. Track 10 is How Are You Doing? How Are You Doing? After like listening to it like once, I didn't really love it that much. And after like listening to it a couple more times, I ended up really liking it. Like the actual like the chorus and like the beat of it is really good because it's like, how are you doing, girl? How are you doing, boy? And then it goes into like a lot of the rest of the song. It's actually pretty catchy. And then track 11 is If the World Didn't Suck, We Would All Fall Off. So again, 11 tracks, 39 minutes in length. Overall, like a nice kind of short album. A very nice short, just dance pop album. Wouldn't really call it bubblegum pop. The content of the songs gets a little more mature. A couple of the tracks you probably could say are a little more on the bubblegum side, like Playmate to Jesus, but it kind of after Playmate to Jesus, it definitely gets more into the mature side of the album. But that's going to do it for this video. So we're going to be back again in a week from now. We're going to be doing 52 of these albums like we did with the other series. But again, the basis of this series is 52 albums I have either never heard at all, or I'm only familiar with like maybe a song or two. So I had heard a song or two off this album at the show I went to, and the rest of the album was completely new to me. We'll be doing, doing this for, 52 weeks. And then at the end of the year, like we just did for 2023, we'll then break down all of the kind of albums. I'm hoping this project or series, whatever you want to call it, is going to kind of just expand my horizons, like musically. Like a lot of the albums I covered on the 52 Essential series were, like albums I have listened to many, many times and have enjoyed. But I think it's time to kind of just expand beyond that a little bit, and this series I think will help facilitate that. But again, that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next week with a brand new album. Until then, thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.